I got to start this feed. There we go. Okay, we're about 30 seconds away here, everyone. Gorgeous Manitoba Becky, how you doing? Kay Haley, you're looking lovely tonight. Mere person, hello, gorgeous. Good to have you here. Greeko, Opa, my friend. Justin, Bassmaster, Mr. Apnea, good to have you awake. Yes, we are getting ready to fly high tonight. Redheaded Lisa, good to see you. Raul, how's it going, man? Praying and Sasquatching. We do not squatch here, people. We do not squatch. Squatch is a bad word. We don't do that here. You want to see me want to step into the octagon with you, man? Use the word squatch on this show. I'm telling you right now. Pisses me off. All right, here we go. 10 seconds, everyone. Remember, the super chat is open. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thumbs up. Let's have a good night. We got Jerimiah Fountain here coming up right now. Columbia, to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. We're not blocked yet. And on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rock with Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Jerimiah Fountain is a fighter. Literally, this dude can kick some butt and take names. He's a former professional MMA fighter who is now looking for his next match. However, it's not about stepping into the octagon for this one. No, that next fight is going to be in the forests of North America, searching for the elusive Bigfoot. He's seen the creature, experienced paranormal activity, and now he's ready to come face-to-face with the reigning hide-and-seek champion. Jerimiah wants that belt and make Sasquatch tap out and enter into existence. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Jerimiah Fountain, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Good, Dave. How are you?
It's
an honor.
Great. It's an honor to have you here, my friend. I'm just some bloke from Canada who, loves talking Bigfoot, man. That's all I am. Who am I? But you're the man. You're the man tonight.
No, I like that. Anytime I get a chance to talk, like you said, we don't use the word squatch. We use target species.
Works.
So yeah, I agree with you. The term squat, we don't use it either. So good call on that one.
well, let me tell you why I banned that word. I think, it cheapens the truth of the investigation. It really does. That's number one. But number two, for people who are listening into the first time, the late Dr. John Bindernagel, he spent literally 70 years looking for this creature. And I asked him one day in 2015 when I met him face-to-face at a conference, I said, what do you think of the word squatch? And he says to me with a deep sigh, and quote, end quote, he says, 70 years of research for nothing, all because of one word. And that hit me, man.
Wow.
That hit me. So ever since then, the word squatch has been banned from this show. We don't squatch here. You don't squatch anything. And you know what else I've noticed about it? I'm sorry. I'm going to go on to a rant about this right off the bat.
No, go ahead.
You know, the other thing that I found out about this, Jerimiah, is 9.5 times out of 10, the people who use the word squatch have no idea what the hell they're looking for. They have no idea what they're investigating. They investigate off of opinion and not science, and I think they're full of it. Full of it.
I would have to agree in that. without a doubt.
All right.
Yep.
Enough about my pedestal here. Let's put you up on the pedestal, and let's learn a little bit about you before we get into some great stories that you have from the field. You know, you being a former MMA fighter and still being involved with training and everything, you know, you're a big, tough dude, you know, but you're tiny compared to this creature, man.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and as far as tapping on, I'm not quite sure if that's one title match I'd win. But as a fighter for years, and I'm just to the point now. You know, I'm 41 years old now, and I'm so beat up, you know. So the fighting, and like you say, I'm still involved in training. I enjoy it. I'll never give it up. But the fighting days are over for me. Like you said, I'm out there to, like you said, have title bouts against other things out there.
Well, you know what, and I say that in jest and everything, but for people who have had encounters, you know, this is a life-altering event. It doesn't matter whether it's Sasquatch, Dogman, ghosts, aliens. When you have that close encounter, it's something that changes you, and it changes your perspective on life, as well as, you know, how you deal with things, how you deal with everything life. Because when you see something that you cannot explain and that is not supposed to exist, it really changes you, doesn't it?
It does. It changes absolutely everything. Everything in your life. It just it changes it completely. You look at things different. Now I'm a hunter as well. And after my first encounter, which I'll get into in a little bit, that messed up my hunting for about 2 years. I refused to go in the woods. It just, like you said, it just changes everything. And even now, even if I'm out in the woods doing my research, my head's on a swivel. If I'm in the woods hunting, my head's on a swivel, and you find yourself constantly looking for sign, and it changes everything. I mean, I know there's different. We all have our different theories on what these things are, and that's everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and it changes everything about everybody that has these different opinions. If that makes sense.
It totally does. So let's go back in time here. When did you first start learning about Sasquatch before you had your own experience? What did you know about this creature?
Well, I come from a logging family, many generations back. My grandma was Native American. From a very early age, I was learning the lore, but how they looked at them, hearing stories from my grandfather who worked, he worked in the logging camps, back around the time of the Great Depression, and age 7, this is when it really kicked it off, when the obsession really started. My mother bought me a book called The Mysteries of the Unexplained. And I turned to a page, and there I saw the old girl, Patty. And I said to my little self, what is that? That seems pretty interesting. And ever since then, that's kind of when it began, as far as the interest and the obsession goes. Now we own lots of family land that we log. I actually live on a 250-acre plot in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, where my wife and I have had numerous encounters up in the very northern tip of the Adirondacks, and we don't know. We lived up there. We lived up there in 2016, kind of off the grid. You know, while we were building this cabin, we lived in a camper. Okay, and talk about activity that summer. It was just insane, just insane. My first encounter was in 2000. All right. And if you'd like me to go into that now, I have no problem doing that.
Let's just go. Let's just do it.
Okay. You know, it was hunting season. It was muzzleloader season. And I decided it was starting to. I got in there a little late. Okay. And on the far end of the property, we have a beautiful, beautiful natural artesian spring. You can see the white quicksand bubbling. It's actually absolutely gorgeous, which I think is one of the reasons that attracts them here, is that water. You know, that clean, fresh water, you know, which also attracts the game, which is going to attract other predators as well, you know. I'm sure anyone that's into this field would agree. Well, I'm sitting in the stand, and it was starting to get a little darker, and I walk out of the stand, and I start walking to the spring, and kind of loops around like a bend around the pond, and I noticed that something wasn't right, you know. And you know, I kept walking. I picked up the logging road. The logging road starts once you pass the spring, and you know, I walked back, and my truck was parked, you know, right at the beginning of the property. This is, like I said, this is in 2000, way before we even considered moving down here. I got about, I'd say, quarter mile or less from my truck. And my father had an old skidder down there. Like, I'm talking a very, very, very old one. And I stopped dead in my tracks. I noticed these amberish eyes peeking from out in front of the skidder. And, you know, I grew up in the woods. I could track, you know, I've hunted every, you know, game, you know, big game animal there is up here in the Adirondacks. I can pretty much identify anything, but something about this, I know this sounds cliche, but call it a sixth sense. I know a lot of people say that, but I mean, you know, I don't know what else to say. You know, call it a sixth sense. Something was off about the situation. Something was off. So I stopped, and I'm looking, and it's just giving me these eyes, and all of a sudden, the head popped back behind the skidder again. And I'm thinking to myself, what was that, you know?
Now, how far away were you from
So, God, 40 feet.
Really? Holy cow, that's close.
40 feet. So, next thing I know, the head pops back out, and by this time I had illuminated my headlamp to the highest setting, okay? And I could see what must have been the way I was facing, okay, I'm walking out. The skidder would have been on my left, okay? So I notice what must have been its left arm wrapped around the front of the skidder, and I could see the hand. Those eyes still get me. Anyway, it hops back behind the skidder again, and there was I couldn't see it. There's a log, okay, from the tip of the skidder, and it was about 12 to 15 feet from the nose of the skidder, okay. Now, all of a sudden, this thing leaps from behind the skidder, okay. Now, check this out. Now, the skidder, it could have been right behind the nose. For all I know, it could have been at the very back of the skidder, okay, which would have added another, 15 feet, okay?
Right. Now, I'm going to stop you right there because for a lot of people who may not be familiar with how big a forestry skidder is, I mean, this is a vehicle that's, 50, 60 feet long?
This was actually a smaller one.
Oh, okay.
Dave. This is a smaller one. No, it's probably the front end, probably 5 feet, probably 20 feet long. 25 feet long.
It's still a big toy.
It's still a big toy. My father loves the toys. It's still a big toy, and this thing leaps, man. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything in my life move like that. The athleticism, it's just unbelievable. And being a fighter, and I had just started training around that time period. I've trained some of the best athletes in the world as far as fighters go. I've been to Brazil, fought in Brazil, I've fought all over. This thing hit that log, okay? And when it hit the log, it didn't crouch down to jump again, okay? What it did, it's almost like it propelled itself off the front half of its foot. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Propels itself off the front half of its foot, okay? And that's a big leap, Like I said, it could have been from right behind the front of the skidder or at the back end. So for all we know, that thing could have taken a 20-foot leap, But at the very least, it was 12 to 15 feet. Now, when it hit that log, like I said, propelled off the front half of its feet, didn't even give an arm swing, to assist it. Leaps again, probably another 12, 15 feet to a tree, okay? And immediately hops behind that tree, pops back out, and by this point, it's just standing there looking at me. And I froze. I went into shock. I was already a believer, okay? But like you said, even if you're a believer, something that comes, how do I say this? Once you see it, it's popped into your mind. These things are real, whether you believe it or not. I think everyone still has that little bit of a doubt, maybe,
Okay, so
but I found out.
So what did this creature, for people who may not know out there in radio land, they may have seen images, but for you, being within 40 feet of this creature before it took off,
Mm-hmm.
what features were you able to see?
Now this is what's interesting about this thing. This is a juvenile. Now, and this is when I tell people, I tell very few people. I've told it on other shows, and I told a few friends. This thing was no more than 5 feet tall, but I would have to estimate the weight at about 200 pounds. And people say, well, that's not that big. Yeah. Let me tell you, 5 feet tall, 200 pounds solid muscle, that's pretty put together. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this particular creature, I don't know if I'm allowed to call it a creature, but anyway, the whole face was covered in hair. And that's what's interesting to me, because the rest of them I've seen down there, they weren't. You know, you could see facial features very, very, very well. The only thing I could see were those eyes. It did have that protruding brow ridge. Couldn't see any other features. The head wasn't as conical as you see on other clips, you know, on the internet. It was, I don't want to say it was round, but it wasn't a pointed, you know, conical head. So, you know, and before I go ahead any further, I do want to mention I am not pro kill. I would never ever harm one of these things unless my life came down to it. And even then, you know, I don't think you're in a good position. But anyway, being my first time seeing one of these things, I did want to get a closer look. Now, I did start to unsling my weapon off my shoulder, okay? And I got it off, and surprisingly, it didn't take off. I think back now and figured it would have taken off as soon as it saw me go to do that. But I got it off, and I didn't get the weapon halfway up, and it popped back behind the tree like it knew what it was. There's no doubt in my mind, and it was gone. It was gone. And you could hear it crash, bang, boom. And that was that. That's the first. That was my very, very, very first encounter. The one thing that was going through my mind was, my God, someone's pet orangutan get loose or something, you know? It's the only thing that could come to mind, you know? And then it took me a while to realize, you know, that what I had really seen, you know, auburnish brown hair, and I will mention it's hair. It's not fur. It is hair. You know, I know a lot of people refer to it as fur. It's not. I've seen several of these things up close, and it is hair. So yeah, that was in 2000.
All right. We're running out of time here, and I hate to cut you off, but I don't want to start that second one until we get back from break, because it's going to be a lot of cool news and stories. You know, as someone who's seen Sasquatch myself, it really is true with what you're saying, that when you are standing there in awe, you really do not know how to feel when you see one of these creatures, and we are going to learn more about the Sasquatch. Our guest tonight, Jerimiah Fountain. We're running through the forest looking to drop an elbow on the reigning hide-and-seek champion. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. That's a good first half hour, man.
Yeah, you have to pardon me, and I always get I had no problem on my shows. I always get a little bit for the first few minutes on other
Get the jitters.
guy shows. I always get a little bit jittery. Yeah, that's why I apologize.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries.
But yeah, that was quite the experience, man. It just changed my life. You know, you know, like you said, you know how it is.
I totally know how it.
Yeah.
I should say something here to our YouTube crowd because I pissed someone off here, and I didn't mean to. Where is their name? Praying and squatching. That wasn't directed towardly at you, okay? It wasn't, my comments weren't directed at you. Please don't take it personally. I'm just giving a statement. I'm sure you're a good person, and, we all have our opinions, and I apologize if I offended you or hurted your feelings. Praying and squatching, you should see Joe Monk's hair. Bigfoot would be jealous of Joe Monk's hair, and he's like 6'9" or something like that. 6'14" or something. I don't know. Oh, man. Yes. Say it, says Emily Bigelow, Alaska's greatest athlete. By the way, just so you know, want to see something cool, YouTube? So my hat I have on, I stole this from my old man when I was like 12 years old. And I'm going to show you the original color right there. I'm showing you the original color. That's how much it's faded over the last 37 years or 35 years that I've had this hat. And I love this hat. I will be buried with this hat. Buried. Yeah.
I've got a couple like that too, dude.
Oh, dude! Literally, I have electrician's tape holding the back end together.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then the front is all frayed, and oh man, this hat and I have been through everything.
Gives the character though.
It does, and this is the only thing I will not allow anybody in my family to have when I die because it will go with me. It will go with me. Yeah. I love this hat. Like there, you can see the back is all worn out and ripped, and I've got electrician's tape holding it together. And, yeah, this thing is swam in the Pacific Ocean. It's been in a bunch of lakes, rivers. I almost lost it in the rapids. And while fishing one time. And, oh, yeah, it's all good. Love this hat. And every now and again it goes missing for like 6, 7, 8 months. I don't know where the hell it goes, but it'll go missing.
Oh, it's frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It'll go missing, and then it'll come right back. A few months later, like it went on vacation, and I'll be like, oh, hey, there you are. There you are. And he'll be like, hey, I'm home. I'm home. Dad, I'm home. I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember ripping it off my old man, too, because it was a Labatt. It's an old Labatt blue hat, and my dad had a friend who was like he worked for Labatt Breweries, so he would give my dad all this swag. And he gave my dad this Labatt blue hat, and I just fell in love with it. And I'm like, Dad, I'm stealing that. And he's like, no way, man, that's my new hat. Yeah, pretty much screw that, and I stole it from my dad, and I've had it ever since. My dad was like, throw that piece of shit out of here. And I'm like, no, get the hell out. Oh, yeah.
Sounds like my father.
Yeah. Nate, it actually does say Labatt Blue on it. Here, check this out, dude. I don't know if we can get that close, but I think you can see it there. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. All right, we have about 30 seconds before we're going to get going here. Big thank you to Bigfoot and Jason McDaniel for the super chats tonight. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up listening in so far. And actually, Joe's Maine, I have stepped into the Pacific Ocean before, and it was funny. When I was down in Oregon when I was like 8 years old, a week after I left, there was a shark attack. Same thing happened in California when I went into the ocean there at 17. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you for talking some Sasquatch with us. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Hey, we want to give a big shout out to Eric with a K in our chat room. Do you know what, people? Believe it or not, Radioland, we are his fourth favorite show of this genre. His fourth favorite show. We are moving on up, people. We are moving on up. Our guest tonight, Jerimiah Fountain. He's a former MMA fighter. He's an experienced hunter. And he's also a tracker of Sasquatch, having his own encounters. And right before the break, Jeremiah, you told us about your first one that you had in the year 2000, and you were just about to get into your second one. What happened there?
Yes. Well, okay. This is the one that put the cherry on the cake. Very. I'm getting goosebumps already. Thought you about it. Okay, in 2000, I got to the point where I was looking for answers, but I wasn't yet to the point where I was a research fanatic. I needed answers, but I had other things going on as well. So I couldn't put the time in I wanted to. Well, anyway, this was in 2007, okay, and also hunting season. And it was November. God, I want to say it was. And one thing I wanted to mention, you have to pardon me. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering dates. I have a traumatic brain injury from kickboxing. And, I get seizures and stuff, so you have to pardon me on that with dates. So just excuse me if I take a minute to,
Yeah, no worries, man.
remember a date or something.
Hey, no worries. You were in a very violent career for a long time, and, there's unfortunately consequences that go along with that. Being a former hockey fighter myself, I know what that's like.
Oh, yep. Absolutely. Well, so this is in 2007, November 2007. Okay. Now, I didn't plan on hunting. I wanted to go down and work on my tree stand for a while. Okay. And I went down and did some work, fixed the stairs. I have my tree stands look like the Taj Mahal. I take a lot of pride in it. If I'm gonna hunt and freeze, I'm gonna be comfortable. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I finished up, and I finished up a little earlier, and I thought I was gonna. So I said, "What the heck?" I got my had my 300 mag with me. It was rifle season. I said, I might as well sit for a while, see if anything wanders out. So I'm sitting there, and God, it wasn't half an hour, and I heard the most ungodly ungodly, guttural vocalization coming from the direction of which I had to make my way out of there. And I could not only hear it, but I could feel it. And I know that sounds cliche as well, but it's the truth. Where it rattles your intestines. So at that point, I said, okay, before it gets dark, I am out of here. Something told me, get out of there now. Got out of the tree stand and, same trail to the pond. This time I get to the pond. I'm just about to the pond. And I noticed there's this tree, okay, about 5 feet offshore that I had never seen before. I'm like, okay, that's a tad bizarre. I walked a little closer, and, well, the tree decides to turn. Oh. And it was a female Sasquatch. And here I am, and we're locked. Our eyes are locked. And the eyes just black holes. I know other people describe other things, but these were just black. And we sat there, and she had vegetation in her right hand. I don't know what she was going to do with it, but she had vegetation. When people say they have to turn at the waist, they're absolutely right, because that's what she did to get a good look at me. So she's staring at me, and I see her eyes move towards, she could see the barrel of the rifle over my right shoulder. She flickers her eyes back towards me and gives me a look. And I'm going to give my partner, Shawn Wilson, credit for giving me this idea. The way he put this is hilarious. She gave me that, like in the movie Tombstone, when Wyatt says, "You gonna skin that smoke wagon?" And she looked at me and, hey, go ahead, skin it. But I guarantee you do. I'm going to get to you first, and it won't turn out good. But I could also, at the same time, she was also, don't get me wrong, we weren't having mind communication or anything, okay? It was just the reading I got off her. She wasn't going to give me any issues if I didn't give her any issues. You know what I'm saying?
And how far away were you from her at this point?
I was about 30 feet away from her.
Oh, wow.
30 feet. Yeah. Extremely close. And she was a big girl. Extremely big.
You're lucky she wasn't feeling a little frisky at that close.
Yeah, tell me about it.
How do you go back? You think about that? How do you go back to your wife and say, honey, I just cheated on you with a Sasquatch?
You're right. She probably had me committed or something.
Exactly.
Now,
I'm going to assume you knew it was a female because of the breast protruding from the chest bone.
Yes, and they are built a little bit different as well. I have seen males, and they are built different. They are built different. But yes, absolutely the breast. Now, the silt in that swamp is very, very soft. Okay, Now, I would have to say that, God, she was in that, like I said, about 5 feet off that bank. All right, and the water went up to probably, I don't know, I'd say 6 inches below her kneecaps. All right, and I mean, she was just, so I can't judge an exact height, but from what I saw, from where the water was under the kneecap to the top of her head, she was well over 7 feet. Well over 7 feet.
Wow.
Very, very massive, massive buttocks area. Massive. Just massive. The shoulders were very, very impressive, but I gotta say, what impressed me about her the most was the width from front to back. That to me is the most impressive thing about these things, is the width, from chest to, back. Typical long arms, hands. Her now, I know everyone gives different descriptions, but I got a great. I'm gonna mention I lost control of my functions. I'm not afraid to admit it. Got a real good look at her hands. 4 of the digits were in proportion to ours a lot longer than her thumb, okay? Her thumbs. Now, if you look up the definition of opposable thumbs, we have opposable thumbs, okay? Now, how do I explain this so everyone gets it? The thumbs, her thumbs, almost, it was like they were twisted inward. Okay, so the front part of the thumb was facing the same direction as the other digits, as opposed to, coming up to the side of the hand. You know what I mean?
I get it. It's almost like ape-like hands.
Exactly. Almost perfectly made for gripping. That's the impression I got. Perfectly made for gripping. Her deltoids were like cannonballs. Like nothing I've ever seen before. A theory I have on her is that even though she was so big, I don't know if she had bred yet or had come into full maturity, because her, you look at Patty, the video of Patty, and her breasts, they were pretty saggy, this particular girl, they weren't that bad, so, I mean, but every woman's different, so who knows? It's a theory I have. I thought I'd throw out there. Now, her, as far as facial features, okay, her, the shape of her head, okay, that was more roundish, okay, not much of a conical head at all, more roundish, not completely like a basketball, but, it did have a little point to it, but it just more round than anything. I didn't notice any ears. The mouth was just unbelievably wide. Very thin lips. Just unbelievably wide. I always say, and this is an exaggeration, obviously. Yeah, they look like they went the mouth went from ear to ear. Obviously, it didn't. That's how it looked like to me at the time. It looked like she could have opened up her whole mouth and just bit my head off.
Oh, she wasn't
like
going to do. I'm convinced she wasn't going to do that, my friend. I am, and I'm saying this seriously. You're lucky that she didn't run after you to make sweet love. Honestly, you were lucky.
Yeah. I mean, I have thought about that. And I dealt with. Well, we'll get into this later, but I dealt with cases like that. I have thought about that. I have. And again, it was hair, not fur. It's hair.
How long were you
massive forearm?
How long were you two staring at each other? Because it probably felt like an eternity.
It did. It felt like minutes. I would say about 30 seconds. Now, here's something very bizarre. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. I've had one person that also witnessed it. And she was looking at me. How do I put this? There's like a flicker, okay? It was like a transparent, but not quite transparent, almost like a membrane type thing that came from the bottom of her eye, from underneath the eyelid, and she kept flickering it in both eyes.
Weird.
I had no explanation for it. I really don't. I've had theory, thought about theories. Maybe it's something to do with helping them see at night. I don't know. But I saw it.
I want to ask you, if you don't mind, Jeremiah, in regards to this is now your second close encounter with one of these creatures, to the point where 30 feet with any animal in the wild, you're not running away. You are not running away.
No.
Were you frozen out of fear, or was that your hunting instincts that came into play and just said, look, I got to be as still as possible and as unthreatening as possible to make sure that this creature doesn't attack?
I think it was a little bit of both. If it had been a bear, I would have stood my ground because, like you said, you don't run from a predator. With this thing, I think it was a little bit of both. If I run, is she going to come after me? But also I was frozen. I was frozen, solid. Even if I had wanted to get that rifle off my shoulder, I couldn't. I wouldn't have been able to. I was frozen solid. And once she knew I wasn't a threat, she hopped out. She took one leap onto that bank, and she took 3 leaps, and she went about 60 feet in 3 leaps. And I know this because I checked after. I went down a couple weeks later, and I got a rough estimate of where she hit each time, and give or take 20 feet in between where she would have left.
When you have an encounter that is that close and is that refreshing, and I don't mean to ask this. A lot of people who don't believe in this stuff will say, "What are you asking that for, Dave?" But I tend to believe that Sasquatch has some very special capabilities. Did you feel any type of telepathy or energy off of this creature while you two stared at each other? Because obviously that length of time, 30 seconds to a minute, with a wild creature like that, anything can happen. And yet she showed you respect, you showed her respect. So was there any energy or telepathic communication?
how do I explain this? I think on her end, there definitely was. And again, I'll talk more about this later, but I'm an empath, and I didn't realize that yet, and I could. That's why I was saying, like, I knew somehow. I didn't hear her voice in my head, but I knew from the look she was giving me with her eyes, I'm not going to hurt you if you don't try to hurt me. And I used to be one of those guys, Dave, that thought these things were just some ape, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no. That's just my opinion. I have been through every stage of belief that there is with these things on what they are, what they could be. Every time I think I have the right theory, something happens to throw that theory right out the window. I am at the point now, after 20 years, I am not afraid to say I have no clue. And I do believe they have abilities. I do. There's humans that have them. My wife, for example, is very, very gifted. So why wouldn't other, why can something like, the target species, why couldn't they possess abilities? Here's one for you. I'll get more into it when I get to my North Carolina experiences, but now I was always a believer, and I was always taught by certain individuals that, okay, to get the eye shine back, you gotta put a light right in their eyes. Okay, well, I bought that for years. Now, we had a spot down there, Stacy and I did, and it was just a phenomenal area. They were very aggressive in that area, though. I will say that. Totally different type, totally different kind than we're used to doing it up here. Totally different. Anyway, we're on the bridge, just sitting there, and my wife likes to go completely black, shut off all the lights. I don't know, and she gets her rocks off on. I don't know. I don't know. You got to meet her to understand what I'm saying. But anyway, all of a sudden, we hear them walking out of the bayou, okay, towards us. And there was no moonlight. We didn't have any lights on. And all of a sudden, all these eyes started illuminating. Red, fluorescent blue, green, amber, white. Could there be a biological explanation? I suppose. It could be ambient light that we can't see that would, maybe set that off. Or, I don't know how deep I want to get into this, but I know that certain agencies are working on stuff that for soldiers that instead of goggles, they're contact lenses almost, and part of the ingredient is chlorophyll.
Right. Hold on right there, Jeremiah. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Jerimiah Fountain is going to tell us more about his own Sasquatch encounters and why he wants to find the elusive Bigfoot in North Carolina and around North America. More Spaced Out Radio right after this. I was so into your story, I forgot about the time.
That's okay.
I'll be right back. I'm just going to go and take my dogs outside. Okay.
Okay. How much time we have?
We got about 5.5 minutes.
Cigarette.
Yeah, you go right ahead. We got about 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Great. All right, Dave. Cool.
Swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today. Take it from the top. Go!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache. So why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content
all
on
right,
Cryptid Tales, where I will get in.
I am back. Hey, Vinster, how you doing, man? Gorgeous Teresa, what's going on? We've got 90 seconds, my friend.
Okay, let's.
Who else we got coming in here, sneaking on in? Lexi, how are you? All right, 30 seconds. Thank you, Bigfoot. Thank you, Jason McDaniel, for the awesome super chats. Thank you to everyone who has tuned on in and given us a thumbs up. If you're brand new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, a great way to support our show, do a little shopping at facebook.com/the SOR Vault. We got some great T-shirts, including Bigfoot T-shirts in there, so make sure you check them on out. Here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What is this? Umbilicanimism. What? Umbilicanimism? Is that it? The Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We're continuing our great conversation about Bigfoot tonight out of North Carolina. Researcher, former professional MMA fighter, Jerimiah Fountain is with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, no, not a problem. It's an honor. My pleasure. It's an honor.
I got an MMA question for you right off the bat.
Sure.
Are you friends or do you know Diego Sanchez?
I don't know Diego. I know some of his training partners. He trained under which I forget which Gracie it was. God, was it?
Well, the reason why I ask is about a month and a half ago, he had a UFO sighting with his daughter, and he put it on Twitter, and I messaged him, and we started chatting on Twitter about him coming on the show, talking about UFOs and his sightings, and he's a very spiritual dude, and he's like, yeah, man, let's line it up, send him some dates, and haven't heard back.
Oh, I can hook it up. I know a lot of mutual people.
I'm just wondering if because of that, if he got shut down, for instance, because it wouldn't have been good PR. You know what I'm saying?
He may have, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very well could have.
But we're talking Bigfoot with you tonight, my friend, and you are, for people who missed the first hour of the show, you are fully convinced that this creature is completely real after having a couple close encounters. But your encounters continue.
Yes, we see. I'm in the Adirondacks right now. That's where the sighting started. This has been a multi-generational thing going on here. you know, when we left to move to North Carolina in 2017, there was a family, the family group here, my guess was 6 to 8. Now, my wife, my wife is a very, very spiritual person, and she would kill me if she heard me say this term, but she is first of all, she's a very powerful medium. She's a paranormal investigator by trade. We kind of cross-train in each other's fields, but we do separate them. She is what I would call a lot of people would call a white witch, I guess, and she hates that term, hates it, you know. But she's blown my mind, you know, over the years we've been married, just blown my mind with the stuff I have seen her do. Now, you were asking about mental communication. Well, we were stacking wood one day, and she said, "I'm going to take the 4-wheeler and I'm going to go pick some blueberries, you know." And I said, "Okay, just be careful. Take one of the weapons with you." And you know, she hops on and she was gone. And she comes back and she's white as a ghost, but wasn't scared. Not an ounce of fear in her. I said, "What happened?" She goes, "You're not going to believe what I just saw." I said, "Well, I mean, I probably will believe it." And run it by me, you know. And she said, "I think I just saw the head honcho." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yep." And she was picking her berries and turned around, and there he is, just staring at her. And the description she gave me of him, and I know that he's massive because we have found his tracks. He leaves 19-inch tracks. He's a beast. He is a beast. I haven't seen him personally, but you know, I trust my wife with everything, you know, and she's gonna come out of the blue and make up. Okay. So I said, "Well, tell me about it." She said, "Well, there's nothing really to tell." And she said, "We kind of looked at each other for a few seconds, and that was it." I said, "Did you feel threatened? Did you feel afraid? No?" She said, "It was actually kind of soothing, kind of like a mutual thing." And you know, she said they communicated, you know. And my wife, with what she does, she doesn't tell me a lot about her, you know, her practices and stuff like that. Now, she describes his shoulders as being, she said they had to have been 5.5 feet wide. At least.
Oh, wow. That's a big dude.
It just gargantuan. Just huge. I said, "Well, how tall was he?" And, you know, a lot of people misjudge, and I kind of had a feeling she would. And she's like, "Oh, he must have been 12 feet tall." And I said, "Well, why don't we go down and you show me where you saw him, and we'll get an idea how tall he was." So we rode down, and she showed me the tree, and the limb when he turned around away from her, he walked into his limb, and he only cleared it by about 3 inches, a few inches. Okay. So I had her hold the tape on the ground. I sit on the 4-wheeler, and I brought the tape up, and to the bottom of that limb, it was 10'6".
Incredible.
So
you're looking at a 10'3" creature.
Yes, give or take. Yeah, and that personally is the biggest one I've ever. I know people have seen larger ones, but me personally, with someone I know, that's the that's the Mac Daddy. Now here's where we get into something. Oh, and here's what else she said about you hear a lot about, and this goes for all of them on this land. You hear about matted hair, the smell, disgusting, putrid. We never experienced any of that. She made a joke and says his hair is beautiful. I felt like asking him, where do you get your hair done? She made a joke out of it, and we've never experienced any of that. I know a lot of people have. I don't know. Maybe it's a glandular thing. When they get worked up, they can release it. But wild animal and bears stink. So I don't know. That's one that's got me baffled. That's one I'm pondering about. She said it was almost like he was putting in. He had another coat of hair coming in. Like it had just come in fresh. It was but we got to remember they probably groom each other.
Okay. So with grooming each other, and you also mentioned the smell. For people who've never smelled that odor, what does it smell like?
I've heard everything from rotten carcass to fecal matter, garbage. So yeah, I personally have never smelled it. I have lots of friends that have, but I personally have never experienced it.
Me
never, not one time. Yeah, I think that's why I'm leaning towards a glandular thing. I just don't know. I don't know. It's a good definitely it's one of those things about them. It's definitely toughy for sure. Now here's where I'm gonna hit on something real quick. Actually, let me go back to North Carolina, then I'm gonna switch back. Okay, so as I was saying before, these eyes illuminated, and heard from very reliable sources. Certain agencies are working on, instead of having to put night vision goggles on certain individuals, they're trying to make a contact lens, and the main ingredient is chlorophyll. Now, what if from the vegetation they eat, okay, what if there's some sort of biological way that they can do it?
It makes me wonder.
It was a hard pill for me to swallow at first as well, until I thought about it. It could make sense. It very well could make sense. It's just so many things. A lot of the things that I'm just such a. I do believe they do have abilities. I do. but I think some of them, there could be biological explanations for. Others, no. They're it's such a fascinating creature, but yeah, we watch them all pop on. I've got a video. I think I may have sent it to you. My stepson and I watched one come out of the swamp one night, straight towards us, and he did the same thing.
Incredible. Have you ever heard them talk?
The jabber? The jibber jabber?
Yeah, like the...
I heard it last night.
Last night?
Yep.
Oh.
A buddy and I took a walk, and we heard it. And I got it, and all I had on me to record with was my phone, so I'm going to isolate it and bring it out, and I will... When I get that done, I will send it to you.
Because in 2018, my buddy and I heard it out in the deep forest of British Columbia here. And when you're all alone in a forest and you are all alone, that is something that you immediately hit the brakes on, wondering what the hell is going on around here.
Absolutely. They, I mean, and especially when, and we did here in North Carolina at one point too, extremely aggressive group that we were researching down there, extremely aggressive. I mean, boulders thrown at us, I'm not talking just rocks. I'm talking boulders, from 80 feet away. We did have one good Class A down there. So myself, my stepdaughter, one of her friends. I took them down. We went. I said, let's head under the bridge for a little bit. And you had a perfect view of the bayou. And I was actually texting, it was one of my guys, either Gary Spikes, Travis Bowen. It was one of those guys, one of my partners. And all of a sudden, my stepdaughter and her friend, what is it, Jeremiah? What is that? What is that? And they stand up. And they were getting ready to run. And I said, stop, calm down. By the time I looked up, they saw the frontal view of this thing. They saw the whole thing. By the time I looked up, it had made its way. It had started making its way up the hill towards the train tracks I believe, to cross over on the other side. Okay. Now, I lit it right up. And it was, I would say the vegetation was about 5 feet. So he was a good 7.5 feet. Very barrel chested, more of a square jaw and a very protruding brow ridge, and he was gray. He was gray and gave back fluorescent blue eye shine.
Okay, I want to ask you about the eyes, because so many people who see this creature have seen it with yellow eyes, with red eyes, with blue eyes. Do you think that Sasquatch has different colored eyes, much like humans do? Or do you think that this is something a little unique to maybe different characteristics of different breeds of creature?
Yes, right there. I do. I think it's I think it's ignorant for us to think, you know, how big this continent is, and to think that there's only one species of these things running around. You know, I believe, you know, I personally believe there are many subspecies, and within those subspecies, there's probably more. I think, you know, each subspecies may be able to give off a different color eye shine. But then again, like I was saying, I did see red in North Carolina too, but who knows? That could have been a totally different entity I was dealing with, which is going to bring me to another topic of conversation in a second. Now, we moved back up here and moved into the cabin, and you know, they're here. We had one. They've banged on they went quite a long way. You know, they went a long time without having us here. You know, they've banged on the side of the cabin and let us know they're around. And, we've never had a problem with them. I've had one issue with them where they got aggressive, and that's when I interrupted a hunt one night before we lived down here. And needless to say, they escorted me out.
I know what that's like, to be escorted out.
Yes.
I want to ask you, do you think that they have investigated you on your property as much as you have investigated them?
Absolutely.
We got about 2.5 minutes here.
Absolutely. Even more so. They know as soon as I go in there, as soon as I go out back and into my other research areas, they know. As soon as I'm there. Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think they're investigating on you?
I think their main thing is to determine if I'm a threat. You know, what kind of guy is he? You know, I know. You know, one thing they don't like is when they do bring people out back that they don't know. They do get a little worked up, but they chill out after about an hour. But they definitely have investigated us, and that's a fact. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
What do you think they're looking to find out about us?
I think they're looking to find out what kind of a danger we pose to their species. What our next move is going to be. I think they're well aware of the problems going on in the world. I think they know. Let's face it, Dave. Human beings, we are the most dangerous animal on the planet. Okay? We are the only species that off each other in record numbers. And I think they are well aware of that. They've seen it. You know? Now, in modern times, I think that's what they're trying to find out. You know, what is their intention with us? You know, are we going to end up like other species? You know, I don't know. I really don't. I just think they carefully analyze everybody, and they analyze the big picture.
Right.
Big picture.
On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Jerimiah Fountain, some fantastic personal encounters with Sasquatch. And we're going to continue this roll with Jerimiah right after this on Spaced Out Radio. So stay tuned. clear, dude. All right. Maven Phone, welcome to our chat room for the first time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Who else do we got that's new in here? Sovereign Farts, welcome back. You're a little late. All right, I think we're good. I'm having a blast listening to you, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Dave. I'm having a blast with you as well, man. This is awesome.
We got to get you to the West Coast, man, and get you over to Washington State and B.C. so that way you can come with Nate Foote and his son, if we can pry him away from the Hallmark Channel. And you got to watch out for Corey that way.
For sure. I definitely got to make it out there. I do have some relatives in the Pacific Northwest. I know you guys are a long ways from Lake Tahoe, but I know that's that's a pretty active area too, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, where I am in BC here, we have Sasquatch all over here. All over.
Yeah.
Just a matter of trying to get them to connect.
Right.
Nathan.
Yeah, that's
laughing.
the thing. People think, you live in New York. Well, people think in New York, they think of the city. They don't realize the Adirondack Park is 6 million acres of nothing but wilderness, bigger than Yellowstone, Yosemite, Glacier National, Grand Canyon, Smoky Mountain National, and the Everglades put together. It's massive, Not a lot of people realize that, I don't think. It's just massive. And, even within my little area here, some my native relatives, they talk about a couple different types.
Hey, Antonio, how you doing, man? Good to have you back. I can go. Well, let's see. The first prints that I found, if I were to draw a straight line from my house, they're probably about 9 miles away. The first prints that we found. The talking that we heard up here was probably 24 miles from here.
So not that far, really.
No. Hey, Bushy, how you doing, man? Good to have you back. No, not that far at all. Dude, I go 3 miles to the east. I'm in deep forest. 3 miles.
It's got to be gorgeous up there.
Oh yeah, man. On top of the mountains. The only
Beautiful.
The only difference here is, you're dodging so much wildlife here. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
It's not just black bears and cougars. You have the wolverines, you have moose, you have wolf packs all over the place.
Right.
Grizzly bears, dogmen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We got just over a minute here, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Hey, everybody in the chat group, let's give Nate Foote a clap for recommending Jerimiah tonight. Good job, Nate.
Absolutely.
You redeemed yourself from your holiday Hallmark binges. Your son, not so much yet. All right, we got about 15 seconds. Thank you to Bigfoot and Jason McDaniel for the super chats. And here we go, guys. We're going to kick off the second half of the show right now. I lied. It's in 20 seconds. I lied. DB Cooper, thank you so much for the awesome super chat. The U.S. have places in forests you cannot get to on ATVs, etc. You got to go on foot, and regions are huge. Nate Foot. That's right. Okay, 5 seconds. Here we go. Halfway point of Spaced Out Radio has been passed. We've crossed the line, and we're going for it here. Second and goal here on Spaced Out Radio. I want to say thank you to everybody listening in all around North America. And if you are looking for our archives, check out our free ones at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with the experiences of Jerimiah Fountain. He's a former professional MMA fighter and kickboxer. He now searches for Sasquatch out in the eastern area of the United States. That's all I know, because this stuff is secretive. This stuff is totally secretive. He's not going to give it up. Not going to give it up. Where are you? Where are you, by the way? You're in North Carolina?
No, right now we just moved back to the Adirondacks.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yep. We're in Carolina for almost 2 years.
Okay, so when did you move back?
We just moved back in September.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. Do you remember a year ago where that little boy in North Carolina stated that he was taken care of by a big bear? What do you think happened?
Yeah. Well, I have a very good friend who was on the Craven County PD, as a matter of fact, and we have had many conversations over many a beer about it. Okay, so see a 4-year-old little boy who's gone 4 days. It was the coldest North Carolina had gotten in years, 18 degrees, okay? Now, if anyone thinks a 4-year-old boy would have survived in the bayou for 4 days, 18 degrees, nothing to eat, nothing to keep him warm, scared, if you think he would have lived, no. Personally, I think it was a female Bigfoot.
Okay,
I do.
You talked to a friend of yours who is on the police down there who helped in this investigation.
Yes.
Are you allowed to say what he said?
He thinks that's what it was too, because he and his partner were cruising down a back road one day, and they had one run out in front of them. Their dash cam caught it. They went back and told their captain, and they were told to keep their mouth shut, and the footage went missing, oddly enough. So, I mean, yeah, there's no way he would have lived. And let's not forget, they're in hibernation that time of year, bears.
Absolutely. And what a lot of people don't understand, and I've watched this story, and you can tell these weekend warriors must live in the city, because if anybody knows anything about bears, if you wake them up, or if they wake up through hibernation because they're hungry, they are angry. They are killing anything that comes close. And if that was a bear that woke up through hibernation, it's not going to coddle a child. It is going to eat it.
Yep. Without a doubt. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's the same area I lived in.
Do you think the truth of that story will ever come out?
Nope. Maybe when he's older, and he legally has the right to talk about it. Maybe not.
If he remembers.
Exactly. It's just some way it was a bear. It's asinine. It really is. No way. I mean, 18 degrees, 4 days, 4 years old, nothing to eat. No.
And then found in a briar patch with barely any scratches on him.
Yes.
And they had to cut him out. And this was an area where he would have froze, and there's no way he could have got in there without hurting himself. Yes, he had a few minor scratches when they took him out.
Right.
But there was nothing there. Did your police friend say that they found any evidence of a Sasquatch?
Well, okay, he did say that as far as the dogs, okay, they were getting a really, really, really good trail. And this does happen, dogs are on the trail and they'll stop. But when you have a bunch of them, you have 5, 6 going at once, and they get on a trail, they catch a scent, like his scent, and they're hauling, they're running along, tracking. Then all of a sudden they lay down and refuse to move. Like they got to smell something they didn't want to follow.
That case baffles me.
Yeah. I mean, it is a baffling case, but at the same time, personally, I mean, people probably think I'm nuts for saying this, and I passed that point a long time ago. I am nuts, and I've accepted it, and I seriously think that's what it was. I think he was taken care of by a female Sasquatch.
Me too.
I do.
That makes sense. Now,
I really do.
I want to ask you something else, because for you having these close encounters, you have been pretty lucky, but there are some people out there who haven't been so lucky. And I believe it's your dad who's actually helped out on a couple of cases that David Politis started investigating with his missing 411.
Yes, he has. He was on my father. He got out of the family logging for a while, went in the State Police Academy when he was 23. He became the youngest BCI investigator in New York State history. The record still holds to this day. He was on the Douglas Legg case. He wasn't the lead investigator, but he was on the case, on the search party and whatnot. And with his background, being his ethnic background, and he said he knew from day one that they weren't going to find him. And I know it's awful to say, but it's true. It's what I was told, and it still bothers him to this day. I can tell. He won't talk to me about it. I'll get little bits and pieces out of him, but no, he won't. He changes the subject. Now that area of the Adirondacks is very, very, very remote. Extremely. They were a very rich family. They had built that mansion on that. I forget, it's done a Speculator, New York. They built that mansion on the lake, and they were the only ones around. surrounded by nothing but wilderness. And that area is known, for being infested. Now, as far as these cases go, these 411 cases, I believe there's different things doing it. We had I'm going to go back from North Carolina once again to New York. So in 2016, when we were living off the grid here, we were coming down the road. We had eaten dinner and had a couple of drinks at my parents'. Coming down the road, and I look on the side of the road about 60 feet ahead of us, and this thing's leaning against a tree with one arm, okay? Very lean looking, but built kind of like a basketball player, a pro basketball player. I said, Stace, slow down. You're doing 60 miles an hour. That thing jumps out, you're going to hit it. She slowed down, and when she started to slow down, that thing leaped into the middle of the road. She stopped and stood there for a quick second and leaped onto our side of the land. This is right in front of our land. This is on the other side, the opposite side of the road, and it went onto our property. Only way I can describe it is a typical lichen.
So you got Dogman in that area too.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, Dogman. Yeah. Yep. Wow. Now the ones we hear reports of up here, and I didn't get it. This one was moving so fast I couldn't tell. It didn't have a tail. I can tell you that much. But I got a report from a girl, okay, that I've known for years, who's actually a DEC officer in New York State. And her and her wife were going down the road. And this is actually near the Mohawk Reservation. Same kind of deal. This thing lunged out into the road. Now, when they stopped, this thing turned and looked directly at them. Now, they got a unbelievable look at it. 7.5 feet, probably 400 pounds. They got a good look at the legs and the feet. The feet were like, a Sasquatch's, no tail. In the head like a wolf. And I know other people see different type looking ones, but those are the what we see up here in the Adirondacks mostly. I've been trying to get her to come on the show, but the wife of the girl is full-blooded Mohawk, and she just won't do it.
I know there are areas up here where I live where a lot of First Nations people won't go because of the fear of Sasquatch or other creatures. Yeah. So that makes complete sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was telling you, I got a couple of cool, interesting stories for you if you want to hear them.
Yeah.
This one's passed down from my granddad. I told this on the show, one of the shows the other night that we did, me and the guys. But they were in a camp, working a logging camp. Okay, this is around the time of the Great Depression. Now, jobs very, very hard to come by, obviously. They would go out each morning, split up into groups, work their area. Well, these three kept coming back to camp at night saying, something's stalking us, something's following us. They had seen it, seen them, peeking from behind trees, screaming at them, seeing them up in the trees, watching them, just stalking them, for one purpose, I can think of. And anyway, they went and they told the foreman, we will not go back to that area. So in the morning, don't even try to send us there. So next morning, the foreman says, well, you three are going back to that spot. And they said, no way. Nope, no way. Now, one of them ended up staying. Two of them left, okay? And this is an area that you had to get to a horseback, okay? So they left. Two of them, the two of them left. One of them never made it home.
Oh, my goodness.
His wife, sent a letter to the foreman and said, have you seen so-and-so? He never came home. And they went out, they looked for him and couldn't find him or the horse.
See, and that's where, when you look at situations like that, when you have an animal such as a horse disappear with it, that's where I really start to question whether or not this is a Sasquatch encounter or something else, whether it's extraterrestrials or portals opening up.
I am wide open to that. Absolutely. Yep. Sure. Could very, very well could be. Very, very well could be. Very well could be. I don't want you and everyone else out there to think I'm crazy. I almost don't want to tell it, but let's transfer back to Carolina for a second.
Sure.
My stepdaughter and I went down to the bridge, and I believe I sent you these pictures and video. We were taking some weird. We experienced a lot of UFO activity down there as well, a lot of it, and we got a lot on film, a lot of it, and I'm filming something in the sky one night, and I didn't notice anything else. Now, when I got home in September, I went through all that footage, okay? I noticed something bipedal, okay, grayish color skin, on two legs, and it's the first 2 seconds of the video. You see it walking in the water on 2 feet, and it walks under the bridge, and it's carrying what looks to me like a dead wild boar.
Oh, wow. Kind of like a troll.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck it was. I really don't. I've sent it to guys that have laughed at me, and there's no disputing it. I've got it here on film. I mean, I thought I sent it. I mean, it's incredible. I have no explanation for it, and you can hear it growl at one point.
Okay.
And then the same bridge, my wife and I had a big yellow orb or type thing, circular yellow orb, follow us around for over 45 minutes to an hour. It did not get any higher than 40 feet off the ground, and it stayed no more than 60 feet away. And when my wife communicated with it, it does some pretty funky stuff.
What was happening?
Well, it would get bigger, smaller, and at the end, she, with what she does, she was taunting it. She thinks it was a spirit of some type. At the end, it says a pretty nasty word. You gotta wear buds to hear it. Probably directed towards her. But yeah, it's just crazy. I'll send you that too, because it's incredible. It really is. Very, very weird, experiencing very weird stuff down there.
I bet.
And very, very bizarre things. Very bizarre. And now going back to New York once again. Now, as far as that, dogman thing that crossed the road in front of us, okay? We are four-wheeling down logging road, and massive tree had been pushed over on the trail, and I went around it, not thinking anything of it. Well, about 100 feet down the trail, there's another one, and I got thinking, what's going on here? Well, lo and behold, another 100 feet, there's another one. So I get off the four-wheeler, whip out the camera, and I start taking pictures of the woodline and such. And I had a buddy who I had sent these pictures to say, get out of there. Inside the tree line, you can see the face and the shoulder outline of a long-snouted, baboonish type looking face. Now, question I've always had was, were the trees its way of keeping us, I don't want to say, like a trap or something, or was it the group of Sasquatch trying to say, hey, don't come in here right now? The next day, it looked like World War III had went on behind that tree where that thing was standing, and we never had problems with those things, with those creatures again. And you could see the big male Stacy saw. You could see his tracks. You could see one of the younger male's tracks, and I think they got rid of him, in, for lack of better words.
We've got about 30 seconds left here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Jerimiah Fountain is our guest tonight. Jeremiah, at any point in 20 seconds or less, have you felt deathly scared?
Yes. Yes, I have. Yep.
Well, let's get into that when we come back here, because
it's going to take a minute to explain it.
Yeah, because these are no laughing matters. These are wild creatures, whether they are supernatural or whether they are of this earth. We don't know what they are, but we need to find out. Talking Bigfoot, Sasquatch all night long. We have Jerimiah Fountain for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Then we get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. Okay, my friend, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Not a problem, dude.
Okay, we got about 5.5 minutes.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and click on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
The party is always on. The Bruce Van Cleaver is where you know you can visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose brings at the Rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Steve, spiritual support otherwise known as Pastor. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio and investigator spiritual together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and reports of the past. Looking for answers just like you. So fill out excitement and Spaced Out Radio, and let's figure out what's going on together.
Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots.
All right, I'm back. And
No, okay.
Thanks for the text, man. Appreciate that.
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
All right. So when we get to break at the bottom of the hour, just sit through the break, and I will say goodbye to you during the during the intermission. Okay.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Perfect. All right. We've got about 1 minute here.
Okay.
All right, a big thank you to John Sadler, D.B. Cooper, Bigfoot, and Jason for the super chats tonight. Thank you to everybody who's hit the thumbs up and given us a subscribe. And, of course, to everybody who has followed this show, played our archives. We really do appreciate it. A great way to support this show as well is by going to youtube.com or, facebook.com / the SOR Newswire. What the hell is that? Facebook.com, the SOR Vault is where you want to go. That's where our story is, where you can get the swag. Here we go. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio has kicked off here out of SOR headquarters in British Columbia. We appreciate everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. We also want to say thank you to everyone for hanging out on our YouTube channel as well. We really do appreciate it. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com / Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us here, Clam? Umbilicanimism. Let's try that again. Umbilicanimism. Nobody knows what it means, but the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Jerimiah Fountain. He is a paranormal / Bigfoot dogman cryptid investigator out of the beautiful state of New York. He's over in the Adirondacks, and he is tracking down whatever he can find to prove the existence of this creature. Jerimiah, welcome back.
Thank you. Pleasure. Time flies by, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Time flies, and
we're having a blast with you
having
tonight.
A blast. Absolutely. God, I forgot where it was.
Let's go to, you've moved to the Adirondacks now. You've got yourself some property. You and your wife have kind of settled in there, but you have a lot of weird stuff happening there as well. What's going on? What are you seeing?
Well, I'll clarify. We grew up here, in the Adirondacks. Her family, her father, her dad was in the military, so they moved to North Carolina after she graduated. So that's how we ended up living down there for a while. But the Adirondacks are home for us. I've got, we haven't had any, we haven't had any, there's been no sightings this year. No sightings of any, but they were here. Lots of tracks. They usually show up here at the end of April, or mid-April, and they'll take off at the end of November. Where they go, I don't know, but they always come back.
Do you think they are following a food source, whether it's deer or rabbit or anything like that?
I do. Yep. But, you know, it's interesting because, you know, my grandmother used to tell me about another type that her people who were very familiar with. And, excuse me, I had a bad knee. In a bad position. This other type, now, it's supposedly much smaller. You know, a big male might get 7 feet, which is still big. You know, 7 feet, 400 pounds, but compared to 10 feet, you know, 1,200, that's quite a difference. Anyway, now, supposedly, this type is, you know, they're more proportionally built like us, you know, no facial hair, arms a lot shorter. Now, I've talked to other relatives down there as well, and supposedly this particular type, they hang out in the marshes along the St. Lawrence River all year round. They don't go anywhere. Got a really cool story having to do with one of those, actually. Father has a buddy who was on the river one night, you know, and he had killed his motor, and there was another boat he didn't want to see him, so he killed his motor, and he was going through a small part of the river, and, you know, probably from his side, he was probably 50 feet away from the bank, okay? And he heard something splashing around in the water, and he had a massive, massive spotlight on him, and he lit this thing right up, and it was exactly how it's always been described to me. This thing stood up, looked at him, and from his estimate, it was about 7 feet, 400 pounds, and it was solid gray. Here's the kicker. It had a pink face.
Pink face?
Like, you know how some people's skin will get pinkish? You know, from almost like a sunburn. That's how we describe it. No facial hair, pinkish colored face. That's what we were told. That's it. But you look at macaques, okay? What color face do they have? Pink.
Do you think that this creature is of a natural descent of evolution, or do you think there is something a little bit more supernatural about it?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. I think they have nothing to do with our evolution. Nothing. I think there's something in their. I think there's something. They are something in their own. That's just my belief. I'll probably catch crap for that, but that's just my belief. Because
so why do you believe that?
I don't care. With that?
Why do you believe that?
Because I'll put it very simply for you. You know, when people say, "Oh, they're so human-looking," this and that. Oh my God! Well, I tell you what. When you stand 30 feet away from an 8-footer, and it's weighing 700, almost 800 pounds. There's nothing human about it. Nothing. You know? That's just my opinion. Just my opinion. You know? I really don't, you know, and the athleticism and there's just nothing about, there's nothing human about these except they walk on two legs, okay? They have two arms, two legs. Aside from that, what's human about them? What's human about them? You know? I mean, they're probably 100 times stronger than we are. You know, I've heard of cases of them running close, 60 miles an hour. Okay? The ability to leap 20, 30 feet without a running start. Would a human be able to, I don't know. If they kind of illuminate their eyes, what's human about that? I mean, to me, there's just nothing human about them, Nothing.
Okay, so I can understand that you believe there's nothing human about them, but in regards to what they are, there is a big debate within the Bigfoot community as to whether or not these are, hominids or, relatives of Gigantopithecus. Then you got the whole spiritual side that American Indians, First Nations, indigenous people claim that it has some sort of weird type of powers and it's just a strange entity.
Yeah. And I as far as with our evolutionary line, I am stuck. I am definitely not with that side of it. The Native Americans, okay. You take, let's take for example, the Mohawks. Let's take, and then we'll talk about the Navajos, okay. We're talking about two tribes that live 3,000 miles apart, okay. Had no communication with each other, but yet they're describing the same thing and talking about the same behavior. And they describe it as another tribe of just another tribe of whatever they are. So, my grandmother always used to say I asked her, Grandma, are they more like us or are they more like an animal? And she would say, honey, they're kind of like both, but they're something different altogether.
Do you think we'll ever know what truly they are?
Nope. I don't. Nope. I don't get me wrong. I'm still gonna start. I'm still gonna keep going. But I personally am not gonna climb down this wormhole. But I believe there's people out there that don't want us to know, and I think a lot of it has to do with money.
Explain that.
Okay, well, if you invoke, let's take Yellowstone. They admit there is an endangered species in Yellowstone, okay? Bang. They have to invoke the Endangered Species Act. Well, there goes their tourist money. That goes for all national parks. You know, I mean, how many millions a year are they going to lose? The federal government.
That's a tough call.
Yeah, it is. Yep. It's just one of my theories. Just one of my theories. You know, and I believe there are, you know, there are different types. You know, some of them I don't want, and you know, not all of them, you know, want to sit around the fire and tell campfire stories, but some are very benign. There's others, like I dealt with down south, that were extremely, extremely, extremely aggressive, and they did not care if you heard them coming up on you. Oh, yeah, what I was going to tell you. I was doing a Facebook Live session one night, and I had gotten very familiar with some individuals, okay? And now I talked to some old timers, and the way they would what they would do to hogs was they would jump out, snap 4 of their legs, keep them alive, stick them in a tree during a hot day, come back and eat them later. So the meat wouldn't rot, you know, go bad. Keep them alive, which makes sense. Anyway, I knew where they were hunting hogs because I would find broken legs, clean snaps, leg bones all over the place. And I found a set of 14-inch tracks and a set of 15. I was familiar with these two. And I had heard something killing me from behind. And I said, I was on with it was Travis Bowen, one of my partners on the show, one of the shows, both shows actually, great guy. He said, why don't you make a loop around and see if that follows you, check to see if the prints end up back where you started. And lo and behold, they did. Well, me being stubborn, I was too stubborn to give up. Well, all of a sudden he said, Jeremiah, get out of there now. Get out of there now.
Your friend did, or the Sasquatch did?
Travis did. He was watching. I was on Facebook Live, and he said, "Dude," he goes, 7 feet behind you. He peeked around that tree and stared you down.
Well, there's nothing freaky about that. My goodness.
There's what?
I said there's nothing freaky about that.
Right. Yeah. And it was that. My opinion, it had to have been the big one. He was right on my tail the whole time, and I wouldn't have known it unless he told me. Now, what if I hadn't gotten out of there? What if he hadn't seen it? You know? Makes you wonder.
It totally makes you wonder. It totally makes you wonder. You know, I mean, did you feel any fear? Did you feel it around you?
Oh yeah, I knew we were being tailed. I knew we were, and you know, several times down there. You know, just the area. We had one area we would call the hunting area, one area called the bedding area. We would find, you know, dens, you know, dug into the side of hills, funnel traps. We found a funnel trap one night. We walked into one. It looked like a regular deer trail, and as we were walking into it, we noticed we were inside a round type structure, and the vines were twisted together like bars. Okay? Now, if you were a deer or a hog, you would get very confused and you would panic. Now, if Stacy and I are in that, we hear the most god-awful scream. The most god-awful scream. And I said, okay, it's time to leave. And she said, I agree.
Have you ever been scared out by rocks or boulders or tree branches slamming into the water?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can tell you 2 stories about that. 3.
Well, we only got about 2.5 minutes with you. You got to give us a good story on an ending here.
I'll give you a good one. Okay. Well, this I'll give you the one in New York because this is interesting. This shows that they kind of look out for us. They know us. I brought a guy down there, one of my friends. I told him, I said, don't bring a long gun. They don't know you. Don't bring a long gun. And, well, we're sitting there, and he's drunk, okay? And all of a sudden, boom! Well, he lets off a buckshot, and it hits the tree about 6 inches from my head. I said, did you just let a round go? He said, yeah, I was checking to see if it was loaded. I said, what? Well, I was checking to see if it was loaded. I'm like, are you kidding me? You could have killed me. Right then and there, from across that spring, came about a 4-foot log flying through the air and hits the water about 3 feet in front of him.
It's time to go.
Well, my personal opinion was that it was irritated with him for just about killing me.
That could very well be, because you've built a relationship with him.
That's correct. That's correct. Yep.
I want to have you back on. I want to have you back on as we got about 30 seconds left.
I'd love to.
Yeah, man. I think what I want to do is I want to do a panel of, you know, Sasquatch researchers and kind of get to these, you know, because I believe that one of the things we haven't studied is the patterns, like getting to know people. I've heard so many times people getting to know, but we'll have to do that. We'll have to line that up. Jerimiah Fountain, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, my friend. We learned a lot tonight, and I hope your stories continue.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You mind if I give a couple shout-outs?
Please do.
All right. Just want to thank my guys. Thank you, first of all, Dave, for having me on.
No problem.
You know, thanks to my guys that, you know, helped me with the other shows. Gary Spikes, P3 Productions, Travis Bowen, Shawn Wilson, John Switzer.
Got to shut it down right there, man, because I got to get out of here for commercial.
All right.
We'll be back with Spaced Out Radio. There we go, buddy. I apologize that I couldn't get them all in, man.
That's okay. But yeah, I'd love to come back on, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it. Let's give you a few claps here for a great show.
Thanks, buddy.
All right,
Thanks,
brother.
I appreciate that.
You take care.
All right,
I'll let you go get some sleep, man.
Okay. I'm gonna send you some vocals too.
Yeah, do that.
Tonight or tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy.
All right,
I'll talk to you later.
Take care. Bye. Good dude. Solid dude. Great stories. I love the stories. That's nice. You could tell there was some genuine thinking there. And for people, I've seen a few comments around people wondering, why he seemed to be slurring his words. It's because he has a bunch of head injuries from the time he was an MMA and kickboxer fighter. But I thought he was amazing, and I definitely would feel totally comfortable bringing him back on. Jerimiah, he's very detail-oriented in his stories. Probably could have been a little bit more, but I think it'd be good. I think we got to sit down and have that. Thank you, daughter. Thank you. Got a nice cap. That's good stuff. Yeah, I agree, Yola Tango. It was a great guest. Great guest. Hi, Nikki. How are you tonight, sweetie? He has not written any books yet. Corin's the booking guy. Your mustache looks great tonight. Nate Foot. Good recommendation. Everybody can thank Nate Foot for Jeremiah and recommending him to Corin's the booking guy. Good job, Nate. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams. There you go. Got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's a gorgeous clown tonight, Marty. You know I have an affinity for redheads. That is a gorgeous redheaded clown. She could kill me. I'd be okay with that. Derek, I hope you enjoyed the woo on a Friday night, because I know you like your Friday night woo. 1 minute? No, pardon me, about a minute and a half here. Have a good night, Antonio. Thank you for tuning in, man. Hi, gorgeous Renee. 20 seconds. Thank you to John, DB Cooper, Bigfoot, and Jason for the awesome and amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who gave us a thumbs up tonight and thumbs down. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here we go. I did it again. I did it again. I thought that was it. Good night, John Sandler. New Jersey's own John Sadler, everyone. He's got the devil in him. The New Jersey devil. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this thing, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we give you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes pretty damn good. Yes. Why is it good? Well, 2 northern resident killer whale families brought along a baby as they returned for the first time in 2 decades to their traditional winter foraging grounds in British Columbia waters. Scientist Jared Towers with Fisheries Department in Canada here said he spotted the group, collectively known as A5, this week in Broughton Archipelago, where they had once fed on Chinook salmon before being driven out by deafening acoustic harassment devices installed by fish farms. They were meant to deter sea lions and seals, but the noise also kept orcas out of the territory that they have now reclaimed. Towers said adding the devices were removed several years ago because of their negative impact on the killer whales. They just stopped using the area altogether for over 2 decades, and now it's a sign of hope that they are revisiting these territories and perhaps feel safe enough to go back into those waters near Alert Bay. Towers said he saw 9 whales, including a calf that appeared to be about a week old, alongside its mother, Midsummer, great-great-aunt Corky, and great-uncle Fife. There are at least a couple of individuals who are alive now who were much younger the last time we documented the area, he said. So the animals probably remember that when their mom was alive, that's where she took them. It's amazing to see them swimming past a little tiny beach in the middle of the strait, and all of a sudden they do a 90-degree turn and head right for that beach. That's one of the only places on the entire coast where they'll rub their bodies. Towers said the A5s were heard on a hydrophone in the water and identified by their dialect before he headed out to search for them. Many of the northern resident orcas, which number about 300 and are classified as threatened in Canada, were shot by fishermen and captured for aquariums in the 1970s. They typically hang out in waters on the central and northern BC area, but they don't spend much time in the Vancouver, Victoria, or Seattle areas, unlike southern resident killer whales. This is really cool. Killer whales coming back. Love them. You know what killer whales are good for? Eating great white sharks. Yes, eating great white sharks. That's what they're good for. All right, moving on. Weird one here. So we'll get in the Canadian content. Over in my former hometown in Nanaimo, home of the Nanaimo Bar. And if you don't know what a Nanaimo Bar is, you might want to Google it, make it, eat it, and be thankful that you listened to me. The Mounties say a woman out for a walk was surprised when cash began falling from the sky around her. Police say that the woman was walking on a street in northern Nanaimo on Monday when a car went flying past her. Seconds later, money started floating all around her. The vehicle didn't stop, and the woman didn't get a plate number or the vehicle description before picking up the cash and going to police. The RCMP say they have no records of lost money, and the owner may not even be aware that the cash flew out the window. The undisclosed amount of cash will be held for 90 days, and if the lawful owner isn't found, the finder will get to keep the windfall. Somehow, knowing Nanaimo, that's probably dirty money, and she can expect a nice little windfall heading into later on in 2021. Sad note if you're a baseball fan, legendary Tommy Lasorda has passed away. His body began to fail him in recent months, but his passion for the Dodgers never wavered. The man who always claimed to bleed Dodger blue out of loyalty to the organization had one last mission to accomplish, one more triumphant moment to experience. He was granted that moment in October when the Dodgers defeated Tampa Bay to win the World Series, their first championship since he guided them to the title in 1988. He willed himself to live this long and to watch that World Championship. Former Dodgers pitcher Orel Hershiser said he willed himself to stay active with baseball and to be impactful on a daily basis. He impacted us all in so many ways, the LA community, the baseball family, and all of the world of baseball. But I believe Tommy Lasorda had no boundaries. On a daily basis, there were no boundaries to something positive, something about winning. That's what he brought. Lasorda, who in 20 years as the Dodgers manager won 2 World Series championships, 4 National League pennants, and 8 division titles, died of a heart attack at the age of 93. Only one of the few remaining links to the club's Brooklyn roots, he spent 71 years with the Dodgers and was a vibrant and voluble presence. Rest in peace, Tommy Lasorda. Oh, speaking of sharks, thanks for this, Shirky Poo. A young woman has died of a rare suspected shark attack in New Zealand. No point in going there now. No point whatsoever. They got sharks there. Yeah, Kayla Marlowe was just 19 years old when she decided to become shark food. Marlowe was taken out of the water, still alive, but died at the scene despite efforts to save her. Police say she appeared to be bitten by a shark. Of course she was bitten by the shark. What else is there? You know, it's not a seal. Killer whales don't feed on people. The attack happened at Wahai Beach on Northern Island, not far from the country's biggest city of Auckland. Police extend the sympathies to her family and loved ones during this very difficult time. So they say, we appreciate her death was extremely traumatic for those who were at Wahai Beach yesterday, and we are offering victim support services to anyone who requires it. Shark attacks, here comes the line. Shark attacks are unusual in the country, and this is thought to be the first fatality since 2013. You know what cures the fatality numbers? Not going in the ocean. Yep, people heard loud screams. Lifeguards went out by boat, immediately pulled her to shore, but too late. Jaws got her. All right, look, I'm not a fan of sharks when I'm in the water. Love the sharks. Great white is my favorite. Believe it or not, they scare the bejesus out of me, but it's my favorite. Okay, it's badass. Doesn't put up with anything. All right, doesn't like anybody. It's perfect. You know, but they're just saying, stay out of the water or we're going to eat you. That's all they're saying. New Zealand, Australia, California, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. Pay attention. Oregon, Washington, New York, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, PEI. They just want to kill you. Stay out of the water. That's their area. Let's just let them be. It's easier. All right, let's go to the deserts of Africa. Being extremely tall is sort of a giraffe's thing. So when scientists recently spotted 2 wild giraffes with relatively short legs, nearly having their adult sight, they were stunned. The initial reaction was a bit of a curious disbelief, said Michael Brown, a conservation biologist. In 2015, Brown and his colleagues were conducting photographic surveys of Nubian giraffes in Murchison Falls National Park, Uganda, monitoring the animal's abundance and geographic distribution. Sometimes, said Brown, they could see hundreds of giraffes in a single day. That the giraffes are all generally cut into the same towering, gangly silhouette isn't a problem for figuring out who's who. You get to know the giraffes. So imagine when all of a sudden they start seeing some pygmy giraffes. Short male giraffes strut out across the plain, looking like a hasty Photoshop version in the flesh. The park ranger we were working, and he was with me, he goes, we looked at each other, sort of confirm we were seeing the same thing. The giraffe, named Gimli, in honor of the dwarf character from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, had short legs but a typically proportioned neck, making it basically the corgi version of a giraffe. 3 years later, the team found another male giraffe named Nigel with similar proportions on a private farm in Namibia. By carefully analyzing the photos of these two giraffes, Brown and his colleagues measured the dimensions of the unusual giraffe's limbs and necks, comparing them with those of other giraffes. And what did they find out? Gimli had metacarpals, the hand bones that made up the lowest part of the front limbs, that were only 58% of the length of his neighbors. For both Gimli and Nigel, the long bones in the upper legs were also substantially short. And Nigel also had shorter neck bones and toe bones as well. So in other words, we have pygmy giraffes now. That's kind of cool. That's very cool. And you know what giraffes don't do? They don't go in the ocean where there's great white sharks, bull sharks, tiger sharks, hammerheads that want to eat you. Just saying. Staffordshire police arrested 2 men on suspicion of burglary after one sits on the phone and dials their emergency 999 line. Yeah, this was a horrible pocket dial, fairly costly one. And Staffordshire police confirmed that they arrested a 49-year-old and a 42-year-old after receiving a call from one of them who appeared to have unwittingly sat on his phone. Officers said they listened into the call as the men carried out the burglary and could even hear their colleagues arrive to make the arrest. I think we have just arrested the world's unluckiest burglars, said Inspector John Owen. Police say they arrested the 2 men in the Middleport area on Stoke-on-Trent on suspicion of burglary. Suspicion? You got them on phone talking about it. Yeah. Don't get that. It's on suspicion even though we caught them. Poking fun at the unlucky pair, Owen included an image of Marv, the hapless burglar from the Home Alone film series, in a Twitter post, basically saying, we caught the wet bandits. We caught the wet bandits. Wet bandits. Wet bandits. Okay. You know why men wear tuxedos when they're about to get married? You know, the bride is in her beautiful white gown, and then all the bridesmaids, they all have different colored gowns, like maybe a row of blue or a row of fuchsia or a row of green, maybe some seafoam. Burgundy is always nice. Okay? But you look at the men, and they all wear the same tuxedo. You know why they do that for the men's side? Because if the groom all of a sudden gets cold feet and runs away, everyone just moves one step forward, and that's why the best man now becomes the husband. Joking aside, a wedding in the southern India state of Karnataka took a bizarre turn of events when the bride married a guest after discovering that the groom had snuck out. 2 brothers, identified only as Ashok and Naveen, were all set to get married in simultaneous ceremonies back on January 3rd. However, while Naveen participated in all the pre-wedding ceremonies with his soon-to-be wife, Sindhu, he developed cold feet on the day of his wedding and took off. You see, Naveen had a girlfriend who threatened to die by suicide at the function if he went ahead with his wedding. This prompted the groom to run away for his own wedding, deserting his bride. To comfort the woman, her family decided to get her married right there and then to any guest who volunteered. Now, the brave man, Chandrappa, who worked for the local municipal corporation, agreed to marry the bride who had been left at the altar. What a good man. What a good man. The party must go on. A similar instance took place in the northern India state of Uttar Pradesh in 2015 when an angry bride decided to marry a guest from her brother-in-law's family after her groom, who had hid his epileptic condition from his soon-to-be wife, had a seizure and collapsed. Oh, what a hag. In India, weddings are an important social affair, and a family's status or honor is often determined by their choice of bride or groom. There have been several bizarre weddings that have occurred over the country over the last year. Earlier this month, a man in central India married 2 women at the same time in one of the most publicly acknowledged polyamory wedding ceremonies in India. In June last year, a man married a wooden effigy in a bizarre ceremony at Uttar Pradesh to fulfill his father's wish of seeing him happily married. In March last year, a bride walked out in the midst of her own wedding ceremony after spotting an X at the function. Weddings are also a common scam that people pull off in India. In November 2020, a woman who lost her job due to India's strict lockdown married 3 men and ran away with their money. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. All right. You know, I don't like sharks, but what I can't stand is snakes. And some people hate snakes. I fall into that category. And some people keep them as pets. I get that. Now, apparently, there are some people out there getting snake massages. If you live in Cairo, Egypt, you can go to a masseuse who owns a spa that mixes oil with non-venomous snakes in 30-minute sessions. It's not for everyone, but the owner says that snake massages can work wonders for those suffering from pain. The use of snakes is a type of massage, as it has 2 aims, physical and emotional. The physical aim is to improve blood circulation and mental stimulation, and the emotional aim is to release endorphins that help with the happy hormone that sees people regain confidence, strength in their immune system. Yep, not this guy. Not this guy at all. Although I would do it over swimming with sharks. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What would you do if you were kidnapped by a Bigfoot? Think about it. Serious question here, people. What would you do if you were kidnapped by a Bigfoot? Dirty filth. We would play Cat's Cradle and tell ghost stories. Goddess Michelle. Well, since I usually dance all the time, I would probably teach them to dance. In doing so, I will become their leader. All will obey and love me. And I'd ask them to wear a mask and stay 2 meters away. You can tell she's Canadian. 13 ballads. Ask him, her, or it, why did Nessie cross the road? Greg, to be chill and maybe he won't make me a forest bride. This is chaos. Convince him to let us share a bucket of KFC chicken. Shanna, inform him that I won't be able to stop my boyfriend, the Wolfman, from ripping him to shreds when he comes to my rescue. Dominic says, eat me, Bigfoot. Kronos, ask, what's that for dinner? Uriah, I try to act normal so they don't return me when they realize they took one of the top 10 nut jobs on this planet. Marty, well, that depends. And then shows a picture of a box of Depends. Beautiful clown tonight, Marty, by the way. You outdid yourself with that one. Too kind. All right, moving on. Jamie, I'd watch my bunghole. Don't want to be loved by Sasquatch. Alex, I'd rip my shirt off and chase after it. Kevin Knuth, big scientist in the UFO world. Why on earth would you dredge up those memories for me again? Dave says, that's me. My goodness, Kevin, I didn't expect that from you. You're a scientist, for God's sake. Kevin, I could still have a good bit of fun, Dave. Okay. Nikki, telepathically talking my head off so much so, he or she just might have to tell me to shut it. Donnie, I'd plug my nose. Len, hope that I had beef jerky and a harmonica in my backpack. Gary, I'd start to have a ham shank and growl at him. Or her. Park, I'd clean the cave, give it a good once-over, vacuum, throw out the rotting carcasses, Windex the walls, fix the fur rugs, and make sure all the drinking glasses had coasters. Then I'd bake some fresh Chauncey buns with prairie dog goo on top, just like my man likes it. Oh, my. Then I'd start pressing for a fall wedding. You know, October in that range so my family can get to the cave and his can come from their caves. He's going to have to buy me a rock, though, and sure enough, it will be an actual rock, not an engagement ring. Men, what are you going to do? Oh, my goodness, Park. Carter, I'd make her buy me dinner. Debbie, talk. I allegedly talk too loud to many, and it gets on many people's nerves, but just that. I think he would not want to deal with me for long. He'd be happy to bring me back. Ron, get on his nerves until he brings me home. Becky, kiss his or her hairy face. Kevin, I'd slip the tin of Mighty Moose beard balm out of my hip pocket, flip open the lid to get a dab, then with my finger and thumb slowly rub it into the big man's chin hairs. Evan would like to spoon with a Sasquatch. Mark, I'd shoot Dave in the leg for letting me get caught. Thanks, buddy. That's my best friend, little Marky Spender. Kimberly, grab as much DNA and remember your location would be my guess. Guess she didn't read the question very well. Eric, learn their ways and take on a big hairy woman as my wife. David, sit around and shoot the breeze with them. Marty, make friends because they mean no harm. Terry, give them a good long bubble bath. Gil, I'm on medication for my pancreas, and I get in trouble, or I get terrible wind. I'm sure if I dropped one, I would clear the cave. Oh, my. Mike, say about time. I've been waiting for the big guy. Final word tonight goes to little Ronnie Moniak, the Ukrainian watermelon from Saskatchewan. You can all wave to him because it's so flat there. He says, pinch it real tight, Dave. Pinch it real tight. Thank you to everybody taking part in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again very soon on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire, and to Jerimiah Fountain for coming on the show and having a lot of fun with us. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on Facebook, LGAB, YouTube, Revolution Radio, Twitter, at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Remember to keep on tuning us in. Thank you so much for doing so, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too.